Let's go! LSU, Mississippi State. I feel like this actually is the game of the weekend, even though you have some other good ones, Penn State and Auburn. Obviously, I think the one that'll have the most eyeballs is Texas A&M going up against Miami, but this is just your classic SEC West matchup where LSU, quite frankly, has dominated this series. Now, as a lot of you have pointed out this week, Mississippi State fans and LSU fans, the road team has won the last two matchups. But today we're going to talk about a few things here. Now, first things first, this has just been an amazing week. Power Hour SEC. I really do appreciate all the love there. I actually think the juiciest matchup is actually this right here. The great Bobby Petrino returning home to Fayetteville. So we'll get to that in a second, but Arkansas fans, I want you to comment below. Are you going to cheer or boo Bobby? I'm curious how you feel about this. And Jordan Jones in tow, the former Razorback wide receiver. A nice little homecoming there, and obviously arguably the biggest coaching scandal in the past decade in the SEC. So that is going to be very, very interesting. I'll give you some thoughts on that game here at the end, but I do want to focus mostly on, to me, the biggest SEC versus SEC matchup here. Let's start off with, to me, obviously the stud of this game is obviously the quarterback battle between Will Rogers and Jaden Daniels, two of the best SEC quarterbacks up to this point in the season. Now, of course, Will Rogers, you saw at the beginning, get sacked. That was kind of a prevent situation, but, for the most part, he was rattled because LSU decided to rush 3 and drop 8. It's going to be interesting to see if LSU defensively is going to do that. Brian Kelly said that is not what they plan on doing, which can be very dangerous. I think that probably is the best way to stop the quick passing attack. And keep in mind, Mississippi State's passing attack isn't really all that explosive. They only had one play of 20 yards or more last week, I believe, against Arizona. And just historically, Will Rogers is not really a big A-dot thrower. He's not a deep ball thrower. He is a quick passing game, traditional air raid, dink here, dink there, mesh thrower of the football. So it's going to be interesting to see what LSU tries to do defensively, and it's going to be interesting to see if Mississippi State decides to run the football, as LSU's tackling up to this point in the year hasn't really been all that great. But what I want to get to here is actually one very interesting stat from SEC StatCat. The first is LSU actually leads the SEC in broken play percentage, right? Plays that go off script. And that makes a lot of sense because Jaden overall is an improviser. But I think the more interesting stat is that LSU is amongst the SEC's lowest when it comes to RPO percentage. And what's really fascinating about that is actually two things. The first is that, Mike Denbrock, the play caller, the offensive coordinator for LSU, has multiple lectures on how to run good RPOs that you could go watch on YouTube right now. I don't know if they're still up. It's like CoachTube stuff. Sometimes it gets taken down. But the second thing is a big part of LSU's success versus Mississippi State was exactly the RPO. And this is where, this video has a little extra nugget mixed in there. What you just saw was an RPO touchdown for Max Johnson to Kayshawn. Now, of course, Max is getting a big start this weekend for Texas A&M. We'll talk about him in just a second. But Kayshawn was the main reason why LSU won this game last year, along with their patient defensive game plan. LSU ran 88 defensive plays compared to only 54 offensive plays, and a big reason why was Kayshawn's ability to score on explosive plays. So right here, the safety, after that first run you saw coming out of the third quarter, the safety is crashing down because LSU had a good run to the left side. Okay? Corner has inside leverage, and watch, Kayshawn is still able to get inside of him. Pause. And you get that? Pause the video and pause. But still, Max throws a dart. It is straight man-to-man coverage with no safety help over the top, and the RPO was a big part of what LSU was able to do. very interesting. Both teams also have shaky special teams situations. LSU had a rough special teams game versus Florida State, and last week Mississippi State had a rough special teams game, missing 2 extra points. Be on the lookout, though. Xavier Thomas, I really liked him coming out of Louisiana. Mississippi State got themselves a good football player. Had a really good game last week returning punts. So, obviously I've spent a lot of time looking at this matchup, but I'm still going to go LSU. I will say this, though. LSU fans are nervous about this. Boom! I'm looking at you. Yes, you. Right now, I appreciate all the SEC fan bases showing love, but nobody has pig suing my channel quite like the Razorback Nation. I really appreciate it, and guess what? If you guys keep supporting, I guess every thumbnail and video is going to include some version of Arkansas content. So I'm going to keep, once again, feeding you the pigskin. Get it? Pigskin, that was a bad dad joke. I just love a good dad joke. And keep talking about you guys, right? Because obviously, I was doing radio at the time in Arkansas during the Bielema era. And even, before that, I was very familiar with the Bobby Petrino era as well. And I know, this is just what it's like to be an Arkansas fan. You always get nervous, right, when you have anything going your way. And all your sports are doing really well right now. I wouldn't be nervous about this one. Yes, it is Bobby coming back home. Yes, it does feel kind of like a look-ahead game because you do have 2 top 15 recruiters coming up on your schedule in the next 2 weeks. So, look, breathe in, breathe out. Everything is going to be fine. You will roll this weekend. Now, some other picks here for you. Auburn versus Penn State is very interesting. I'm staying away from this one. I feel as if TJ Finley in a big game such as this one, the under is a lock. But even though I think Penn State is the better team and they have a really nice true freshman running back in Nicholas Singleton, I am staying away because I just don't believe Sean Clifford can just win a convincing game. This game was very close last year. I do like Penn State, but of course I'm staying away there. Obviously, Ole Miss, Georgia Tech is very interesting. But really, honestly, it would be nice to see Saban lose to ULM again. I didn't like Saban chewing out that reporter, but that's not here nor there. But obviously, everyone wants to talk about the big game this weekend. Tennessee versus Akron. Kidding. I think the Vols do roll there, though. But still, it's all about Texas A&M and Miami, right? Very, very juicy matchup. And I do have a play here. Now, last week, I gave you quite a few plays, including South Carolina covering the 9. Really quickly on South Carolina versus Georgia, that's another reason why I'm playing these highlights right here. This score line wasn't as close as this game actually was. As we pointed out in our video yesterday surrounding Kendall Briles, Arkansas dropped a wide open pass that would have really opened this game up, and they gave up a 3rd and a mile for a touchdown. This game wasn't close. Arkansas's team was able to control the trenches on both sides, and Georgia probably is better in the trenches on both sides of the ball. I just have a tough time. Yes, you could see a letdown maybe from Georgia in this spot. I just have a tough time seeing Georgia not rolling them and covering the 25. I do kind of feel like this could be one of these like 42-10 kind of games. So I'm staying away from that one as well. But obviously, the big one here is Miami versus Texas A&M. I love the over here, right? I don't know how this game is actually going to play out, but 2 years ago when Max Johnson took over as the quarterback and played freely, he's kind of playing with house money. He should have never been the starter. This should have been Haynes King, the Texas native. But Haynes has obviously been by far, and it's not even close, the worst quarterback in the SEC. And Max in this spot, I kind of like him, right? Look, I'm not the hugest Max Johnson fan in the world, but a few years ago when he was in a very similar spot, a program in turmoil, a program in LSU that was just playing really, really, really bad, he came in and saved the day and played his absolute best game of his career. And real talk, he did not have a better game than his first start. And last week versus Miami, I felt as if there were some plays left on the field by Haynes King with just bad passing accuracy. Now, once again, I am not a Jimbo guy. You will never mistake me for a Jimbo person. I think quarterback coach, OC, play caller combination at Texas A&M along with their quarterbacks is the worst. Doesn't matter if you recruit well, if you're not good there in the modern era, you're just going to stink. And I feel as if they get an upgrade at quarterback here. And once again, I'm not a big Max guy. This over-under is set at 44.5. I kind of like Tyler Van Dyke the most. And this is a Miami team that's put up, 70 points and 30 points in their 2 games. This seems like a sucker play, but I don't know. I just think 44.5 is not that big of a number to clear. So my favorite play this week is the over. I love it. Now, who's actually going to win? I don't know. But your final score in this one is going to be 31-28. And that right there, folks, is my lock of the week. Lots to get to in so little time. So I want to get shout out to the Razorback Nation for helping blow this channel up. Last week I gave you a ton of plays. I'm going to be honest, this week 3 slate isn't going to be nearly as spicy as the week 2 slate. So yeah, but week 4, are you freaking kidding me? A&M Arkansas, Auburn, Missouri, Florida, Tennessee. It's all very spicy. I'm not going to lie. And, of course, the big one there, Vanderbilt and Alabama, of course. It is Power Hour SEC. If you want to see my offensive coordinator rankings, including Kendall Briles, boom, it'll be floating in your face. And tonight, we are doing some tacos, carne asada style. Let's go.